Alright, I tried some stupid freaking thing where I'm showing this and like trying to keep your attention. Keep your attention here. Look at me lock in. Alright, I just made a 5-minute prediction video where I said nothing. Here's what I'm going to say, and I want to get to the point because you got something to do today, and the game is in 12 hours. I got to get to bed after I make this. Look, Indiana Hoosiers, look, I'm wearing them. Indiana Hoosiers versus Oregon. This is my unbiased, I'm really going to be unbiased here, opinion of the teams, of the game, and everything I've seen. I have not been blown away by Oregon like everybody else, okay? Do I think that that's a problem? Not really. I think a lot of people weren't blown away by Indiana until they beat Ohio State and Bama when they had some really good wins throughout the season before that, right? So Oregon sliding by against an Iowa team, right? Or sliding by against, a USC team where really they played undisciplined that game. That's whatever. Other than what I just said, which is the undisciplined part. If you slide by and get a victory, that's what good teams do. Good teams win, period. So a team like Indiana sliding by against Penn State is a great win because they did it and they didn't shoot themselves in the foot to get them in a bad place. They just played rough and then ended up winning the game. Oregon, in some of these games I'm mentioning, had undisciplined acts, had bad turnovers, and I think that's killer against a team like Indiana. I don't think a lot of people are realizing what Indiana is doing right now. And I'm not going to be the one to say it because I'm not a person who's going to sit up here and sell a team to you. If you've watched Indiana, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't watched Indiana, at 7:30 p.m., you are going to know what I'm talking about. This team plays hard, physical, from minute 1 to minute 60, from beginning to the end. They're playing more physical than the other team during halftime. That's the type of team Indiana is. They dominate the trenches even though they don't have the star power as other teams. They dominate both sides of the ball, right? They don't make uncharacteristic decisions or penalties that will harm them. Meaning that a team who comes to play Indiana, and I say comes to play Indiana because even in away games, teams are coming to play IU. That's why Indiana beat Oregon and Knotson. When I was told all week, you're crazy for picking Indiana to lose by 8. I had Indiana losing that game, and people called me crazy that I had it being a one-score game. Indiana won by 2 scores, breaking the crazy 22-game win streak of Oregon at home. Because Oregon did not come to play Indiana. So right off the bat, Oregon knows that. Dan Lanning is a great coach. He's coming to do that, okay? He's coming to play Indiana. Last time was a 10-point game. To think that it's going to be any more than that is crazy. But to think that it's any less than that is also kind of crazy. I see a 10-point game here again as well. Here's how I think it goes. I think Oregon gets off to a great start. 2 touchdowns, first quarter. I think Indiana gets 1 touchdown in the first quarter. I think second quarter, Indiana gets field goal to near closer. It's 14-10 at halftime. This is where everything switches, though. This is where Indiana really unlocks that next gear. There are times this year where they just unlock another gear and they just dominate teams. And I think that's what happens. I think they hold Oregon to a field goal late in the third quarter. I think they score a touchdown during this quarter, okay, to then make it 17-17. I think Indiana opens fourth quarter early with a field goal. Oregon has a couple more chances. Defense is stifling for Indiana because their defense gets better as the game goes on, almost like a Rocky fight where the more you hit their defense, the more Indiana's defense responds and hits back, forcing a fumble, getting an interception, something big like that in the fourth quarter, which will then lead to a touchdown. When that happens, it'll be about a 10-point game with roughly 3.5, 4 minutes left, and that'll be your ball game. I have Indiana winning this game based on the fact that they are not going to turn the ball over as much as I think Oregon might in this game. They're not going to commit as many bad penalties, and they are going to be ready to play in the second half. I do think Oregon's ready to play out the gate. They're ready to play in the first quarter, second quarter, no doubt about it. But I think midway through the third, we're all going to watch as one team is gaining 6 or 7 yards when they should be gaining 2 or 3. That's Indiana. That's how they run the ball. That's how their O-line moves the other team's D-line. And if they were able to do that against Bama, if they were able to do that against Ohio State, and already able to do that against Oregon one time, I don't care how much you prepared. I don't see the trenches of Oregon being able to stop the trenches of Indiana. And that's where college games are won and lost. I told you that last year. That's why I said Indiana wasn't going to make it far last year because their O-line, D-line weren't moving people. This year, oh my gosh, they're moving mountains. So they're going to move Oregon. And it's going to affect them late because you get pushed so many times and eventually you give in. It doesn't matter how much you want to push back, eventually you give in. So that's why Kanon Black, Roman Hemby, 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards during the early game. Third and fourth quarter, watch. 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards. It's going to happen. It happens every time Indiana plays. I'm going to go based off of what I've seen every time. I think Oregon is a good team. Do not get me wrong. They are capable of winning this game. That is if Indiana plays a C-level game from their perspective. Indiana can play a B-level game, meaning make some mistakes, throw a pick, and they'll still win. They don't throw a pick, don't make any mistakes, it could be more than 10. I'm saying 10. I think Indiana does play a B-level game. I don't think they play their best. But I don't think Oregon plays their best either. Because this is the playoffs. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be nerves. But I think Indiana's played in a lot of these big games now. So is Oregon. But I think Indiana comes out victorious, 27-17 in the Peach Bowl. Thank you guys for watching, and I will be watching live at 7:30 p.m. Be there on Aflac Time. Let's have fun. Go Hoosiers.